Welcome to another episode of Muscat Art Podcast. Today we're going to be diving into the topic of art and the influence of art in our lives. As we know, art is very influential in shaping political landscapes, in social movements, and even in economic trends. So today we're going to be joined by Anetta Szabo, who's going to take us through her work and the things that influence her artwork, and how we can harness the power of art to make or to create positive changes in our lives. Welcome, Anetta.
Thank you, Shada. Thank you. It's a privilege.
So, Anetta, having had a look at your CV, I can see that you're proficient in quite a few languages. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Like, which languages do you speak?
Good question. So I'm Hungarian, right? So I speak Hungarian, forgetting, but I do speak. And then, as Hungarian, no one speaks Hungarian. So then I learned English and French in school. Mm-hmm. And then I picked up some Turkish on the way because I stayed in Turkey for 2 years, and it's not a hard language. And then when I came here, I said, I just don't want to stay without a language long time. So I started Arabic. I'm still working on that.
Okay, that's good. That's excellent. So what can you tell us about the relationship between art and language?
Art and language? Yeah.
I mean, how does art influence people's artistic production, for example?
That's a good question. Never thought of that, but I experienced by learning a language. There's a part in learning a language when you learn actually new phenomena in life, like new things that you didn't know. Yeah, they actually have a name, so that you didn't really know that they actually exist. Okay, so trying to bring you an example, but I'm sure if you think of your own language, you can find words that you just can't find anything else like that in another language. Okay. So this part could maybe open new topics.
That's great. And being equipped with so many languages, do you feel that influences your artistic output in any way? Like, are you able to be more creative in your artwork?
I guess generally it just opens your life, because when you learn a language, you're basically building bridges. Mm-hmm. So you understand people where you, like, for example, let's say Arabic now. It gives so much to my life being here. I understand people more. I can connect with the local culture a little more, and I hope it will grow even higher. So I think it opens your life bigger, your connections, your friendships, and then it basically, we could say that probably it builds a way for inspiration also unintentionally. I've never thought of this, to be honest, but now that you're asking, I'm sure that there is a connection.
Session then.
And I'll be thinking about this. Yeah.
Okay. And what do you think the significance of the Muscat Art Festival is for society here in Oman and for artists?
Yes. I think it's really, really important step and I hope it continues because it adds a great value to the culture on the artistic level. It's almost like a biennale, right? Like a big art event. And I think that's where it's going to head and grow, and also put Oman on the map of art, like in the world. Okay. So it has a lot of significance and very important.
Yeah. Yes. And what are the typical goals that artists have when they attend or participate in such events?
What other even goals they have? That's interesting.
For yourself, like if you were to participate, I mean, are you participating in the event?
Yes, I am participating.
Okay. And what's your goal? What are you hoping to achieve by participating in, the Muscat Art Festival?
To be honest, just for me personally, I just want to encourage, right? So I want to encourage the art scene. Yes, that's my goal. Okay. To kind of support Oman in this way of if good artists come together and we work together to bring art to the next level, then it's amazing.
So you're going to be participating in this year's Muscat Arts Festival, and I mean, I know you can't tell us exactly what you are doing, but could you kind of give us a little hint of what concept you're bringing to the festival this time?
Yeah. I have a series of works that I started a few years back. Actually, it's growing slow. And I'm actually bringing that in. So it has been earlier projects of it has been exhibited, and then now I'm just trying to make it bigger and better. Not better, because they are all different in a sense. So they are actually a body of works. But it's about local scenery again. Mm-hmm. So the concept it's a big white piece that has the shape of the sand of the beach. Okay. So I basically go to the beach with a lot of sweet water and gypsum, and I pour it on the beach, and I take home the pattern of the Kurum beach where the wadi comes in.
Yeah.
That maybe you've seen these amazing patterns on the sand. I take it home and I build that into another material. I build it into paper, and the paper is exhibited. So when you look at it, it's like between sand and water, you got that feel of it. And the final work is paper shape. But again, it's very nature connected in that sense that I did not design the shape. Okay. It's God's creation. Mm-hmm. And whenever I walk on the beach, I'm like amazed that the shape is changing, again, in this area where the wadi water is coming in. So I was inspired by those patterns. And even now, I just did it 2 days ago. I went out and I didn't know which part to choose because they were so different and so unique and amazing patterns. So I'm making a big piece of that will be exhibited. And I also find it interesting how the title is changing all the time. Now I started calling it the project the Gifts of Solitude. Okay. Because I understood that sometimes, there's so much that happens, healing also, and so many things when sometimes we can spend time alone and meditating, and that's our time often on the beach in Oman, right? Walking. So now it's called
I think it's quite a special connection as well between water and healing, you know. So I mean, I think it's really exciting to see what you have lined up for this event.
Yes, come and see.
Okay. And what about the people attending? Do you have any hopes and expectations from them? For example, are you looking for opportunities for more people approaching you with questions about art?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, generally an artist could be looking for other things also professionally. Yeah. At an art fair, you could be looking to sell, okay? Mm-hmm. You could be looking to connect also. Yeah. You could be looking to put your name out there. So these are things that others or all of us could be looking for at an art fair. Okay. And yeah.
Have you had any experience with the Muscat Art Festival before? Because this is the 3rd edition now. Yes. Have you attended either the first or the second?
I didn't participate, but I came to see the second one, and the first one I'm not sure if I was there or not.
Okay, but do you feel that there are any ways that the Muscat Art Festival can be improved?
Yes, I think it's improving, and it could be improved.
Are there any ways that, like, maybe for the next edition or this edition, are there any changes that you hope to see or that you would like to see?
Yeah, this edition we don't know yet. I don't know yet, right? So, but I know the people working hard on it, so I trust that. And yes, there are things, and it's growing that way. Like for example, connecting with galleries outside of Oman and bringing them here. Mm-hmm. And maybe the other day I thought also, what if Omanis would go out, for example, have a residency somewhere, and then bring the art back. So these international exchanges, both on the level of artists and also maybe clients and all that will be the future of Muscat art.
That would be really interesting.
Yeah, and it's already happening this year, I heard. So
absolutely.
So, but in the future also.
It's gaining a lot of popularity as well. So that's a really nice thing. Excellent. Okay. So in 2022, you posted an artwork entitled The Tree, where you used date palm branches to create this piece of work. Can you tell me a little bit more about the the piece itself and its symbolism.
Yes. I love that piece, by the way. And many people love it.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah. Maybe I can also tell you about the piece, how it was made later. But the concept is the following, that actually I was asked by the Matisserie Art Gallery to do, like in the winter season, we have a winter exhibition. And for that to do, like, sometimes it was also somehow connected a little bit with Christmas. So I was asked to make some kind of decoration that fits winter and Christmas. And then at first one I did, no pictures of that. I just took a palm tree the leaf, and then I put them in a big box, and they were hanging, and that didn't look any good. But the next year I was thinking, okay, this is now the second edition.
Okay.
The second edition, I was thinking, okay, now I have to do some other material. And the concept of using Omani material, and especially Omani tree material, to kind of create a Christmas celebration was interesting for me. So I'm in nature often, so I found this leaf and nakhir that many artists are inspired by that, because it looks like textile. So that was the second edition that I built like a shape of that, and then we had it at the art gallery for long, and people loved that too. Then the next year came, and I was like, okay, what else can I do? And then I understood that this, I think it's called asqa in Omani, but like that wood would be a good part of the tree to use for a Christmas tree, basically. Yeah. So I had that anyhow at home, because when you're like an artist, you just collect stuff everywhere you go, and you don't know, this will be good for something, so your house is filled with that. Yeah. So I had that, and I was like, okay, let's try to see. And I started building out of that. If I can build a structure that will be a decoration for our winter exhibition. And and then I used that and built a pretty big structure, and it was so much fun to do it, because while I was building it, I was reading a book on courage, and I said, wow, this tree wants to be very courageous, because it was just growing. So, and it really felt like that material just wants to be this shape. Yeah.
So where is the tree now? Most importantly,
it's actually it's now on a balcony. Okay. So it's hanging there.
Very nice.
Yes.
Waiting for
the next place. Yes.
Yeah. Very nice. Okay. You have a work of art called The Desert of the City, which I found really interesting, actually. And it looks like it's a sculpture of a camel in like a concrete brick. Can you tell me a bit more about this piece of art and what inspired you, to come up with this one? Yeah.
That's great. Actually, that's participating, I hope, in the Muscat art. So, and different versions. So that, you won't believe it, but it's a coincidence, totally. Okay, so I did that during the years I was in university, back in Hungary. I had no clue I'll be living in Oman one day. I thought I'd be somewhere else. But, I was asked by my teacher to pick an animal, and you had to draw it with one line. But to draw something with one line, you have to do it perfect, that it really represents. So I sat down, I've never seen a camel in my life. I drew 100 camels, like from photos, trying to study the shape that really is the characteristic of a camel. Yeah. And then I made it with one line, put it in the computer, had the single line. And then all of us students, we were asked to extrude it. Extrude is when you take one plane and you make it into 3-dimension. Yes. So that's why it's so simple, because it's actually consists of one line that is like just made into 3D. Okay. And then most students, they made it out of like plaster and gypsum that you can throw away. But when I was working, I said, if I'm already working, let's make it out of some real material that will remain. Yeah. And then I casted it into concrete. That's really amazing. Yeah, I built it in the workshop, and then actually it was good because someone was mixing concrete out there. So I just went with my little shape, and I asked the workers to pour it in.
Have you replicated that work since?
It's on the way, yes.
It's on the way.
So after so long, I am.
That's good. That's excellent. In one of your works called Turn It Around, we see you using or looking at the philosophy of holes, like the holes in different, various shapes and sizes. Could you tell me a little bit more about this work or the philosophy of this and how it influenced this piece of art that you created?
Yeah. So that is like, I was working on a project of creating something for the table that is a plate, basically. But it's also kind of a sculpture at the same time in the middle of your, table. And then I try. The challenge was to figure out how actually shapes that are negative interfere with each other, or how could you fit them into one. So the thing that I wanted to solve is that, okay, you have one piece of object that has different holes, whatever holes that you would use in a table. So maybe a vase, maybe a plate for your nuts and or for your key or whatever. And these are different shapes. And then how could you put that into one object that can be, when you're turning it around, you can use different sides of it. And at the same time, this is kind of like a mathematical like equation that I'm trying to solve, while trusting that in the middle of this process, I will discover a shape that is just aesthetically beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's definitely beautiful. I mean, I absolutely love the way that you've used it. It's quite creative that, as you said, you can change it around. You can I mean, if you're using it as a centerpiece, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I had a look at the ways that you use this piece of art to display or use it differently, or create different centerpiece, I guess, items you could say. I did want to ask, actually, I mean, it's such a philosophically deep piece of art, but can you tell me a bit more about the tools and the simplicity of the tools that you used for this?
Yeah. This piece that is in my portfolio is actually marble. So, but the whole project, to be honest, it's unfinished. It would be really nice to continue as a research project of like discovering shapes, and when I still have in me to be undone parts that could be different material. Actually, I wanted to do, for example, the same shape in transparent material or metal or things like this, and study the whole topic. But since this one is marble, it's just you got like different tools for marble, but the carving, for example, there's, I think it's called flex in I don't know in English, but in Hungarian we just say it. It's a big tool, but pretty tough. You don't want to hurt yourself with it, but I kind of myself built it, so that part I kind of spent days of like carving, which I really enjoy because then when you're doing it yourself, what happens is that the material talks back to you. Like it tells you you kind of learn more. Yeah. If I just gave the shape to someone to produce it, then there's not that conversation between you and your piece, and you're not learning so much. So the big cuts, I took it to a workshop, and then the smaller shapes I worked on myself.
Okay. So Anetta, in a lot of your artwork, I mean, I clearly can see that you're inspired by nature. I mean, a lot of natural material is featured in your artwork. And earlier you said to me that you love collecting anything. You have a collection of like things that you could use later for projects. And I just wanted to know, how do you think people could kind of develop this awareness of the natural world around them and use it in ways to produce beautiful and stunning art like you do?
Yeah. Yesterday I was thinking about this a little bit, because I thought like how, actually I was listening to a podcast, I think, and then the person was talking about observation, how like when you're observing things that affects your imagination. So now these days I'm like, oh, if I could observe even more, right? And I think there's actually a big enemy of observation, and is our phone, of being entertained all the time.
Yeah.
So to myself also, but like to anyone, I would say that if we can limit the time of being entertained and to observe even people, things in nature that inspires us. And nature is amazing. Like, it's amazing. There's so much inspiration in it.
Do you find that there's a lot of inspiration in Oman? And if so, like, where would you go to get that inspiration in Oman? I mean, we know that Oman has amazing landscapes, diverse landscapes. You know, you've got the desert, you've got mountains, you've got canyons, you've got the sea. Where's your favorite place to go to kind of get inspired for your next piece of work?
It's a good question. But first, a person, you could go anywhere to, you know, you could go down to the beach and observe the waves. So it doesn't have to be extreme, I think, in that sense. You know, I could be just walking out here and sit down and watch the birds and think about them, you know? So it doesn't have to be overwhelming, because maybe somebody doesn't have a car and cannot, but they can just look out and watch the sunrise. But for me, myself, okay. You know, when you're driving into Salalah, for example, and Hasek?
Yeah, Hasek.
Amazing. Those rocks I could just watch because they are all like piece of sculpture. But anywhere other places, whenever, for example, they cut the rocks and you see the layers of different colors, it amazes me. And but watching the animals, the fish,
everything.
Sand, everything.
That's quite good. It's amazing that, you know, I mean, that you pay attention to these simple things that people take for granted all the time. Actually, we really do. And as you said, we're so busy and caught up in technology in our lives, what we're going to do next, you know, what we're going to post next, that you forget to just simply observe.
And, you know, today I actually had to pass by the doctor and I was like, no, I'm not touching my phone. I'm just going to sit here and watch. And there's so much that you can actually, you know, think, like, you're meditating there because you're thinking, okay, this person and that person. And I think it's a kind of a discipline.
Okay.
I hope to grow in it a little more.
That's great. Anetta, how long have you been in Oman?
A little more than 8 years,
Okay, wow. So that's quite a long time. And in your time, what would you say are the challenges that, you know, are faced here in Oman today with regards to art?
You know, art is there are privileges and maybe difficulties with art getting public recognition, maybe, which is new, maybe here. Art has been here forever, I'm not saying that, because art is part of our life, even if we don't call it art. It's artistic, like, you know, you put on your dress and you make the kuma and all that is art. So art has, and people are art, like, there are so many talents everywhere. But maybe to the public, that's still, even though it, like, amazing people have been doing amazing art in the last, you know, few decades.
Do you think there are, I mean, any financial or administrative challenges when it comes to art, or, you know, people's access and ability to, you know,
I'm sure that there is a lot of, maybe if you think of like Omani artists, I know I know a lot of them, right? Like, because I also curate art, I'm in the teaching art. That, for example, there are amazing Omani artists that would like to, for example, you know, do more art, but financially they cannot. So maybe in that sense, maybe this is your question, like, or maybe they would like to go out somewhere and do a residency, but they cannot. So that is maybe one challenge. It's just supporting art and understanding the value that it gives to society is very important.
Yeah.
So also in this level, I think appreciation of art, like appreciating art, is also, it's almost connects to the concept of observation, you know?
Yeah.
Because art is not direct. It's not like something you look at it and you right away understand it, or you. So that happens. For example, me doing like so many of my pieces are very abstract. So it could happen that someone looks at it and says, "What is this?"
Yeah.
Art is not like, not all the art is like direct, right? Then actually that makes it a special, you know. For example, if you compare two movies, that one is like a series where, you know, the basic story of I don't know, Spanish series, and everyone understands it. And then there's an art movie that you kind of have to sit and think, right? Like, what happened here?
Yes.
So the same happens with like a sculpture or a painting, that you kind of, it slows you down to say like, okay, what is that? And it's not that we fully understand always what the artist wanted to make. And I don't think it even matters. It's more like sometimes just an impression. But to kind of just the fact that you inside you appreciate art, that could also happen with having like amazing art teachers, right? Or art history teachers. So I think that could be cultivated, like appreciation of art.
So speaking of, art and the education of art, you mentioned, maybe studying a bit more art. Do you think that there is room for growth in, adding more art to the curriculum here in Oman?
To be honest, so I don't really know the curriculum of a high schooler or elementary student. So I'm sure they're doing their best to teach them. Maybe they could bring them to the galleries also to see, different art galleries. But I don't really know how it happens. But I trust. But in
your field, I mean, you're in higher education.
Yes.
And you are now basically working on creating a bachelor's, you said, of, can you just remind me again?
Yeah, so I teach in the morning. I'm full-time teaching photography, right? Yeah. So I teach now in the studio. It's amazing. The class I'm teaching is very technical. And I'm like now this semester trying to concentrate on it, how to bring into it a little bit of artistic thinking or also concept developing, but at the same time keeping it very technical, because it's actually, in a sense, it's a technical university, so the students have to come up with really good technical skills, and I think the university is doing a really good job with that. Okay. Most students who graduate, they got like right away jobs and as photographers and now it's I'm teaching photography in UTAS. Yeah. And Achwer. So now we started building a bachelor degree. And I think in that, because it's like more years, you have a little bit space to create and I wouldn't even say artistic, but maybe creative, conceptual also parts of the studies, which is important not only for the students who graduate and they would want to be an artistic photographer, but basically you're using it even if you're in a commercial photography, because you can be an art director, you can have new ideas, and that's what companies want. They don't want to be the same like everyone else. Yeah. So in that sense, art is applied art, it's not just autonomous for the wall of a gallery. Yeah. So for all our students, I wish that they would grow in their creativity. I also wish them that they could be who they are, express their own style, and be brave in that.
So what investment in the art sector do you think that the Oman public has yet to recognize?
I'm not a business person, so I'm sure others would have better answers for it. But I do see that, that as art, first of all, I would like just being like, people actually also just enjoying art. So maybe it could be just a soft, not thinking too much about investment, just enjoy the beauty of that somebody created, that without like thinking too much in investment. But to be at the same time, if you think of young Omani artists now, that's an investment in a sense, right?
Absolutely.
Like if you come to our gallery or any other galleries, there are artists that are going to be they're already amazing, and they will be amazing in the future also. So in that sense, the financial investment is, it is there, that you buy the painting now, and in 20 years the price of it will be great. But at the same time, you would want to invest into art that you love. Then I'm sure that in the tourism sector, also people, I know there's amazing things happening in Oman with art and tourism, right? Because it does draw people.
From the international places, yeah.
I also traveled for art. I saw, okay, there's an amazing exhibition there at Space, and I just want to go and see it. Yeah. Yes.
I mean, when you think of Oman, you don't really connect it to the art scene, do you? It's not something that, I mean, comparing it to other places.
Yes and no.
Would you say there's a future that Oman could?
There is a future. That's
for
no
Oman
question.
To be really connected, with
in
the
both,
art scene.
Both on the local artist, amazing future,
yes.
because there are talents in everywhere.
Yeah.
Also, it's scenery, and I also know that there's continuous work to make this happen. But when I drive in the countryside, as we said, I'm a lot in nature. Then I also think, this could be an amazing spot to do something. And I'm regularly inspired that I would like to just curate an art exhibition in Ashkara or something, So these places inspire you, and you could do outdoor exhibitions up in the mountains, down installations. There's so much opportunity in that also.
I think that's really interesting, actually, the way that you're presenting this idea is, connecting art or presenting art in the natural spaces rather than, typically in a gallery and, taking that space outside. It's quite a nice infusion.
Yes. And then you're connecting with also people who maybe didn't know they like art, but then they're walking among art pieces and they're like, wow.
Yeah. That'd be awesome. I think that'd be great to see.
It would be amazing.
Okay.
I don't know if you know, for example, the project in Saudi Arabia, the Alula.
Yeah, exactly.
That could be also everywhere.
Yeah, why not?
Oman,
Why not? Oman has a huge potential to build, and the creativity is there. The next generation. I mean, I see a lot of students as well who have amazing, incredible talent, and I'm like, if only people invested in them like that, you don't know what could become of that talent in 10, 20 years, So it's really good.
Yeah. I think in that sense also, sometimes I think also just creating spaces when people can work, that would be also great.
Students these days typically look at going towards traditional subjects, technology related, science related, IT related, and so on. How would you encourage a student who is interested in pursuing the arts rather than the traditional subjects? What would you say to them?
Mm-hmm. You know what, these days I understood that it's at some point, maybe I'm getting older, but at some point you also appreciate that you're doing something that has purpose and creates joy.
Yeah.
So if somebody is super artistic, it just brings so much joy in your life that I don't think that we should totally neglect it. I tried to do it. I mean, and it was perfect. I put art aside for a while, and it came back to me, and I realized I'm artistic. So at some point, you could be having all the money of the world, but if there's no purpose in your life, and that creates joy also, then still in your mid years, you're like, yeah. So I think I would encourage students or younger generations. I think when I teach my students, I try to encourage them I try to create actually a space where they are accepted, and I hope that I'm managing. Okay, so, but that's my goal, to create a space where there's so much grace and acceptance. Because in an atmosphere of where you feel accepted, you're more brave to create, or you're more brave to express yourself. And I think sometimes I see that some people just don't dare, but maybe they don't know that they can be daring. And it takes time, and some students right away, I try to create that atmosphere, and right away they just pour out. And it's so beautiful to see that. And And that actually made me think of my classes that, could that be that beyond like teaching technical skills, could that be a place of healing also, for example, someone? So young artists, I would just encourage to be brave, to express themselves, obviously with respect, but not trying to be somebody else. I think that's kind of danger in, especially also like having internet and everything. You think that you should be doing this art or that art, or you need to copy a little bit to learn. I think in the ancient times, or in all of art history, people were copying to learn technique.
Yeah.
But then also being free of like going your ways.
Okay. So letting that art come from within, basically,
yes,
rather than following the trends and just.
And it's okay if somebody doesn't understand it. You don't have to be. Of course. You don't have to be offended. They didn't get it. No problem. They don't. I'm not like
I think.
you're not trying to get recognition or anything.
Yeah, as well as making art, I think people want to experience art. I think maybe some people enjoy questioning or looking at things and not knowing what it is, and just contemplating what could that be, or considering the the options, like what this is, and that's more fun than knowing exactly what it is, what the artwork intends
wants the message of it.
It's you create that, and that interaction between the customer and the artwork, or the observer and the artwork, is also quite special. I just curated an art exhibition in the Montessori Art Gallery, right? And there's a piece from Shima Amiya, who's like a sculpture out of clay. Mm-hmm. And it was so beautiful. Last weekend, I was sitting having my coffee there, and like a 10-year-old girl came in, and she looked at the piece, and she was like, with her finger, she was following the shape of it. And I was like, wow, this girl is like an art appreciator. And she didn't really, I don't think she understood it, but with her eyes, she was like following the shape. And it was such a beautiful moment of like seeing someone, enjoying it, not understanding. She didn't know what's the message. No clue. But just enjoying it. Yeah. As you said, observation is really important as well. Mm-hmm. So observing the little things around us. So could you tell us more about the history of art therapy and more about the mechanisms of art therapy?
I've never really done art therapy, so to be honest, I don't really know so much. No, I don't really know the history. I studied product design, and I studied in that field actually metalwork design, and from jewelry to bigger objects. And then with time, I think what connects all the field that I really enjoy is concept. So in photography, for example, concept, and then in sculpture. Yeah. So I'm not like, I've never entered into art therapy, never done it. But now that I'm teaching, just what I told you recently, that just now that I see that, some students also, I did some classes in geotech and design classes, and some students chose the class that were in logistics or in business, and they said that they just come here to rest and relax and do something different. Yeah. And they actually enjoy putting away their phone in 2 hours working on, clay or working different materials. So, and also what I just mentioned with the creating a space of expression. I know that there's a lot of healing happening. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I don't really know. But maybe it's something for me to kind of study a little bit more because of teaching in the universities and because of like this. I recently also heard that many so for example, in history, there have been like musicians or scientists who had a second hobby, and it was art. And that kind of built up their imagination and helped them. So it's not like only artists do art. Maybe someone is a business person, and then at some point in a weekend does art, and it just helps their mental health and I'm sure there's a lot happening there, but I'm not a scientist to explain it, but I'll be studying the topic later just to understand a little bit. Okay. It does help me, I'm sure. You know, when it's amazing.
Okay. So how can we use individual artistic production to uncover psychological and social challenges?
Personal project to uncover psychological and I can tell you one story, maybe. Because, you know, in art history, what happened is that in the last maybe 100 years ago, I think maybe in the West or there's sometimes art that is like so much. You go into the art exhibition and you come out even more confused. And it comes from the beginning of the century where philosophy had and actually it doesn't even come from art. It comes from philosophy entering into just general way how people think about life and showing away maybe some, concepts of about truth. And I don't want to go into details, but like with in the time of the beginning of this the 20th century, like it just started a direction where there's a lot of expression that actually confuses people. So to be honest, that is not really a healing process. It's maybe people want to express and say something, but it's interesting to observe the other part of art where you go into an art exhibition and you come out having received something. And I think I'm more in that direction, that I don't. Obviously, we are putting always out what is in our hearts. Yeah. So I could be going into an art exhibition, and if it's really just disturbing, and I come out, it more like breaks my heart. It breaks my heart for that person who created it, because it means that they've gone through dark parts of life, but they have not found answers yet. And then another artist could be going through difficulties of life, that is part of it, and finding answers. And that kind of art will be different. It will be like treasures in dark places. Yeah. So I could go into another artist exhibition, and that has been through difficult times in life, but found treasures in it and found healing. And then that exhibition, I come out and it builds me up, even though I've seen maybe the pain also, but it encourages me. Yeah. So that's a big concept. Now I hope that it wasn't overwhelming, but it heals in that sense, that part.
Okay. To what extent do you think art can communicate and influence people's thoughts today, especially in the age of social media?
That it can influence. I'm not an artist who's I have an agenda with the art. So I create because I enjoy it. I love it. I love the pieces I make, and I'm inspired, and you have to put it out there. But it does have an influence, yes.
What kind of influence do you think that it would have on people generally? I mean, if somebody was to visit an art gallery, I mean, previously you just told me it could kind of either build you up or break you down, the experience of seeing somebody's, artwork. But
it could maybe make you think of concepts or ideas that you haven't, right?
Yeah.
It's like you go into a museum and it slows you down, and there's a concept that you have not yourself thought of in life, and you start thinking about it. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of a... Yeah,
I think there's a big appreciation for art on social media as well. I think with social media, art has become a bit more appreciated, especially with a lot of content creators sharing their artwork, and a lot of people following that and finding it like a therapeutic experience to watch these
them.
art videos.
How they're making it, yes,
so it's true. Quite interesting. So what is the impact of the Omani society's identity on the art that it produces, and how this art is then received by the Omani public?
I guess it's like, as we talked earlier, as artists, we express ourselves. What we have inside comes out in different ways, right? So it's directly affecting the art. Like an Omani artist creating art, their life, it directly affects it. And I think that's why it makes it so unique, that maybe if I was a collector somewhere in a different country, I'd like Omani art,
Yeah.
Because the Omani people are so special and unique, and it's in the art.
Yeah.
I could, I think of now, when I start talking about this, I think of Kauthar Al-Harthi.
Okay.
She's an amazing artist, and it's all Omani everywhere, and it's so beautiful, transmitted, explained, and beautiful art.
Which elements do you find are featured a lot in artwork produced by
artists?
Yeah,
I would actually encourage Omani artists, as they are doing it, to always look for something unique again. Okay, so if the same topic is copied, then it loses a little bit. But for example, I think of now. I just so strong in my vision. I see Kauthar's art. She has these pieces of her village that are not directly. It's not like it's abstract, and but you can see Oman in it. You can see foliage. You can see the leaves of the palm trees. You can see even trouble. Like I have a piece from her at home that was made after one of the flood that flooded her village. So the goats died.
Yeah.
And those goats are there. So these are like amazing pieces. Her pieces are amazing, but not directly, we copy the same shape but like she is a person who just observes and learns and meditates on concepts and then produces very unique art.
And how do you think people look at that art? Do you think there's an appreciation to this art? Do you think that people are proud to see the identity, the Omani identity in the artwork?
I think yes. Yeah, like for example, I thought of the tree that that you mentioned before, and I got this amazing comment from someone saying, "Oh, this is Omani." And when I hear this, it warms my heart, that it's like, that it connects. I think in that part I'm sure some people don't look at it and they don't understand. That's okay. Maybe with time,
Yeah.
But some people, they just look at it and they feel it's their own. And I think it's beautiful. But it's good to, in this again, to choose your own way, not exactly copy, because then we get bored of it.
Yeah.
But like observe and do your unique way of expressing it, and yes, it rings a bell, or I don't know, it connects with the soul of an Omani person.
Yeah, that's true.
And then with foreigners in it also, like, okay, for example, residents who lived here.
Yeah.
Right? Like if I had to leave my house now, I would take those pieces that I collected from my artists. There's just a few, not a lot, but I would take those because I lived in Oman. I know the foliage, I know the trees, but I know the lifestyle, but I would not take the same copy that, I would take the unique pieces that somebody made and understood life in a different way.
As we wrap up, let's circle back around to the Muscat Art Festival, which is coming up on the 29th to the 31st of October this year, 2024. What are you most looking forward to in this edition of the festival?
Both the exhibitors. I'm looking forward to seeing amazing art.
Yeah.
And also I'm looking forward to the visitors who come, right? And their impressions and appreciation of it. And even if somebody feels like they don't understand it, just come, enjoy.
Yeah.
Just enjoy, learn, and watch. And like sometimes you walk and you see one piece that touches you, even if somebody has no art background. So I'm looking forward to both seeing other artists and also just the art community as it's strengthening it. Yes, on both sides.
Good. So I guess we're also looking forward to seeing you there and to see what works you're going to have displayed there. I guess you're keeping that as a surprise for now, aren't you? It's a surprise until we'll find out on the 29th of October. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Okay.